Britons are increasingly turning to the food black market, experts have said. I'm going to read into this exclusive from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an exclusive from The Guardian with the headline that Britons are increasingly turning to the food black market, experts have said. The exclusive reveals that goods such as meat, cheese and confectionery stolen in large amounts to be sold to people hit by the high cost of living. So this is something that unfortunately I was actually expecting, simply because the sheer desperation that people are just to try to keep themselves going when they're not getting enough food from, if they're not getting from the food bank, if they're not getting enough food themselves, and a lot of it getting stolen. This is all down to there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration here. So one of the first key caveats is obviously Brexit. We don't have the amount of, we've had to change a lot. The food industry has had to change quite a lot in terms of food that we bring into the country now ever since then, because we relied a lot on a lot of food exports. We still take food exports from the EU, but they're just not as much as they used to be, and the prices of them have gone up, like most food essentials have gone up as well. But that has played a factor in it too. Now, of course, the economy overall and the high rate of inflation has driven up food prices, and which has also caused a massive problem as well. While inflation has gone down, that doesn't mean the prices are going down. The prices are still staying the same, and the problem is that if our wages are not matching or bettering inflation, we're not going to be able to afford these things. And that's the problem, is that people's wages have not gone up enough in order to buy the foods that we need to buy. Now, especially those on the lower end or low incomes who are struggling, it's a difficult time for them. And this is a sign of desperation. And if you're not being able to get food at a food bank, you're going to take any and alternative means. People are actually going out of their way to steal food in order just to survive as well, which is a terrible failure of the Conservative government of the last 13 years. Because when things are going wrong, the government needs to take action, and swift action, to ensure that people's means are made, at least to at least ensure people's means are made. This government has been incredibly cruel when it comes to that. There has been more homelessness than ever before. We have unmitigated yielding of migration. We have destitute poverty out here. Lots of children are not being able to get meals for themselves. It's been a horrible, horrible situation right now. It's a terrible time to be living in the United Kingdom, believe it or not. And while some people who are a middle income and high income earners are probably not feeling it as much, especially the middle income earners, I will say, is that they are feeling the pinch. But some are managing it, some are not managing it, some are having to force to dip their hands in their pockets for savings, and some are not. So it varies from people to people, obviously. But again, when I look at this headline, you would think that this is shocking in a country such as the United Kingdom, for Britons to be turning to the black market. You would think that something like this would be shocking, but it's not, because we expected this, because we have a party that won't in any way, shape or form tend to the means and the needs of the British public. So that's the frustration that we have here, guys. So let's read into it. So, increasing number of people are turning to a growing black market for food to supplement their diets, such as prices rocket, experts have said. Meat, cheese and confectionery are among the items being stolen at large quantities from shops and lorries in order to be sold to people hit by the cost of living crisis. With food prices rising, figures from policing, retail and academia said action was needed to stop people exploiting the rising demand for stolen food. Retailers are reporting a record year for shoplifting, costing the industry £1 billion this year, according to the British Retail Consortium estimate. Home Office data shows that crime has reached the highest levels since record began, while proportion of shoplifting incidents have resulted in a charge has fallen. So you also have to take into consideration with the means of shoplifting, people are doing it in order to try and make ends meet for themselves. Obviously, if they're not stealing for food, while I sympathise with them, there has to be another way to doing with this. And again, this is once again the failure of the government not doing something to ensure that people are able to put food on their table. Again, but when also you're looking at it from the shoplifting instances as a result as the charges have fallen, the reason why there's not enough charges because there's not enough courts in order for them to hear their case as well. So it ends up just being dropped altogether. So especially and not so much. And I'm just going to slide away a little bit, yeah. And I'm talking about the real criminals, the ones who are stealing high levels of fragrance or whatever, high value products from shops, and they're being able to get away as a result of the lack of courts, lack of prison spaces. All these things tying together is what's holding the British economy back. You know, it's all tied in together, guys. And it's really important to make that point. So Andrew Goodacre, the chief executive of the British Independent Retailers Association, said the cost of living crisis has made people think of alternative ways of sourcing items that are essential to them. He says shops have not faced shoplifting in the past, and reportedly thieves cleared the whole shelves in seconds. Yeah, so this is what we call what retailers call bulk theft, is what they call, where they swipe the whole shelf off in an attempt to get out. It's what they call bulk theft, and basically you swipe a massive bag full and you make a run for it pretty much. And this tactic, it works if they get away with it, because they bag themselves a good couple of £100 depending on what they swipe. Obviously, I don't advocate for any thieving whatsoever. But again, when people are struggling to feed themselves, you know, what are they supposed to do? It's a horrible situation to put themselves in. I think that's because the black market has gotten so much bigger, he said. Professor Emmeline Taylor, a criminologist and shoplifting expert at City University of London, agreed. She says, facing a cost of living crisis, many consumers were more willing to turn a blind eye to stolen food. She said, I don't think hard-working people who are now finding themselves in poverty are suddenly turning to criminals overnight. I think it's more complicated to that. A lot of people are more willing to buy stolen goods than actually shoplift themselves because they're one step removed from it. Taylor said she told people themselves it was a victimless crime, that theft was built into business models for big retailers, and that supermarkets were the real criminals for raising prices, or that shops were ripping off farmers at their own staff. She said that this was known as neutralism, essentially moral justifications for people to conjure that make themselves feel better when they're doing something wrong. Another technique on neutralism would be, well, how am I supposed to know it's stolen? How much? And that's much more palpable for somebody that knowing full well themselves that they did steal something. So that's where I think the cost of living crisis is creating the demand for stolen goods. Yeah. And what they'll do is those who do steal it, they end up selling it at third market, black market, online, Facebook, whatever. And if you're getting it cheaper, much cheaper off somewhere else, that same food and that, you know, it shouldn't be happening. But yeah, the supermarkets here, they made a great point here about the supermarkets here. Yeah, supermarkets have really inflated prices for certain things, and it's they're trying to they're using this as an opportunity. Everything with with inflation and whatnot, this cost of living crisis. They're using it as a means to make an excuse. Oh, we're not making enough money. We need to make profit, which is absolute nonsense because they're still making a decent amount of money, guys. It's just a way for them to rip more people off. And again, the British Retail Consortium, the government, needs to clamp down on this and stop this and force these supermarkets to bump prices back down. Wendy Chamberlain, a former police officer turned Lib Dem MP who chairs the all-party parliamentary group on the elimination of food banks, said it was not surprising that people were obtaining food through criminal means. She said important nutritional foods has essentially rocketed in price and that the food poverty could be particularly acute this time of year, with food banks providing only essentials that were generally not particularly attractive or nutritional. She said when the money is tight and when they spend a long time saying no to other family members, the opportunity to buy something a bit more premium and high end, with no questions asked and off the back of a lorry, as it were, is appalling. She pointed out how when universal credit claimants were given £20 uplift in their payments during the pandemic, food bank usage dropped. During that time, crime statistics showed shoplifting also fell. She said one way of reducing the market for stolen goods was the Department of Work and Pensions to urgently tackle the backlog that was causing people to miss out on crucial cost of living payments. It's about processes within the DWP not working so that people really need the help they can get, she said. Adding that more research was needed to understand how the big black market had grown and how the criminal supply chains could be disrupted. In October, police and the government launched an initiative called Pegasus with £600,000 worth of funding provided by some of the UK's biggest retailers. Among those things, it involves a new police intelligence team aimed at targeting organised crime gangs moving into the retail theft. It is being led by the DCH Jim Taylor, who is head of OPPAL, the National Intelligence Unit for Organised Adequate Crime. He said professional knowledge tells us history that during a cost of living crisis, high inflation and high unemployment, community crime rises. What we're trying to do here is be ahead of the curve. We know that crime like this is increasing, and actually we know it is the organised element to it. A government spokesperson said police should be taking zero tolerance approach to shoplifting, adding we support millions of people every year to get the benefits that they are entitled to by sitting on their backsides doing absolutely nothing, including providing advances to those who need immediate help. Well, what are you doing about these people then? These people who can't feed themselves. And to help with the people struggling with the cost of living crisis, an additional £37,000 on average per household. Well, you're not doing enough, are you? They're not doing enough. We know they're not doing enough, guys. It's rhetoric once again from them at the end of it. We're doing everything we can to help them by sitting on our backsides and doing nothing that they can to help them. It's not right. Thieving is wrong. We know thieving is wrong, and it when people actually steal, you're actually hurting. You're not just hurting the staff, the company, but you're also hurting the employees that work there. The employees that have a job to do. It's tough for them, but at the same time, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I need to feed myself. Okay, so what's happening with the food bank in your local area? Can you not get food from the food bank? Is a question I'd like to ask you. But then there's there's the morality effect to this, which people have said as well. Those who do go to the food banks, they feel ashamed to go to a food bank. They feel deployed. They feel rejected. They feel a sense of failure in their lives. It's a psychological thing for them to turn up to a food bank and get food from a food bank. It makes them feel incredibly disheartening. It feels like that they've not achieved anything in their lives when they do that. So there is a psychology to this as well that plays a part in the decision of why some people choose to steal. And as we looked in there, as looking to alternative means of trying to get their hands on food rather than directly stealing it and directly trying to get it off black market in places where it will be dirt cheap. So what do you guys think? What should be done? What should the government be doing? Is it right that people are stealing food to survive? Should they be using food banks? Is it simply because of a morality thing that people don't want to use food banks? Is it because people are ashamed? Or is it because the food banks don't have enough food? There's all sorts of questions and not enough answers. So maybe you guys might have some of the answers that we're trying to think of, and let me know down in the comments section below. Hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do so by buying me a coffee or joining me on Patreon. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.